UFC 209, Woodley Thompson 2 from the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada, which is rumored to be the home of the, if it happens, GSP Conor McGregor super fight. But we're still waiting to hear back, folks. We haven't heard anything about GSP. If it's Bisping or McGregor, we'll keep you posted. Once we know, we'll let you know. T-Mobile Arena main event, the rematch, Woodley versus Wonderboy Thompson for the welterweight title. Speaking of somebody who rested and basically thought he already won the fight and let it go to the judges, I mean, jeez, Woodley's got to be pissed that he almost lost that fight. Now, as far as Thompson, it's a perfect example of learning more from a loss. He's going to take what worked and try to stretch that out in a 5-round fight again. So you're going to see a more focused Thompson, but I still pick Woodley on this fight. Tony Ferguson against Khabib Nurmagomedov for the interim lightweight title. Is it wrong I want to see Ferguson win this fight? I don't know. I really like Nurmagomedov, but Ferguson with the upset here would be amazing. But then you gotta think, who is the interim lightweight title? Who would be the next opponent?
I wish I could even speculate.
Oh God, I know it's such a mess. Like we just talked about McGregor fighting GSP, and if he's the 155 and the 170 champ, no, not 170, 145, 155 champ, I don't know what you do here. I really don't know what you do. I got Ferguson winning this fight, but sadly, I think it's a decision. What about you?
I have to bring up something at this point that relates, that will be instructive in explaining my opinion on the fight.
Fair enough.
You know Robin Black, former guest of this show.
Absolutely.
You know that he does very detailed and exhaustive fight breakdowns for top fights such as these.
One of the best in the world at it, yeah.
Well, apparently, Khabib Nurmagomedov took exception to the fact that he referred to Tony Ferguson as having virtually no flaws in his game, and subsequently blocked Robin Black on social media.
I'm sorry, are we in high school?
Well, the reason I'm bringing this up is because, yeah, it does seem a rather juvenile thing for Khabib to do, even though Robin was actually very, very complimentary towards Khabib's overall game in the breakdown. But it just makes me worry a little bit about Nurmagomedov's mindset if he's not capable of hearing anything complimentary about his opponent right now. That seems to me like Tony Ferguson might already be in his head. And we haven't seen anything like that from Khabib to this point so far in his career, specifically in UFC. He's been on a tear, but he's also been more and more emotional of late about the fact that he's not getting the title shot, he's not getting Conor McGregor, he's getting more and more frustrated, and now he's getting this interim title fight, and I'm starting to wonder if the frustration level for Nurmagomedov is just going to boil over at this point, and it's going to affect his performance, because Robin's right. There really isn't much of a flaw to Tony Ferguson's game, and when it comes to striking, this is not a guy you want to stand with. And I know that I said in Nurmagomedov's last fight he was going to go out there to prove a point, and he did. But at the same time, when he did, he was also yelling at Dana White between rounds. And once again, I got to think about the mindset here. It's like, as good as Nurmagomedov is he coming apart at the seams at this point? Has he gone so long without losing and not getting the title that it's actually finally gotten into his head? Is he going to try to go out there and get into a brawl with Ferguson and wind up on the losing end of it? Because that's usually what happens to people who get in there with El Kukui and try to go back and forth.
Oh, sorry. Oh. Hello?
Yeah.
Hello? Okay, sorry. The mic, the mute button was on. I agree that Ferguson is probably in Khabib's head. And I'm not sure if an angry Khabib is a smart Khabib, you know what I mean? Like, would this help his fight game, or would it distract him to the point where he's going to be sloppy and make mistakes?
that's, again, we'll find out on Saturday, but right now, I'm feeling like if anybody's in the driver's seat at this point, it's actually, it's gotta be going the way of El Kukui, because all the pressure is on Khabib to prove that he's everything he said he is, and all the trash talking that he's done is all justified. You know, if you go out there and shit the bed after saying Russia is better than Ireland, then you got so much egg on your face at that point. And that's why I feel there's just this potential here that I think Nurmagomedov might be losing it. He's taking things too personally right now, and we've seen what happens to fighters when that happens. We've seen what happened to Ronda Rousey when she couldn't put the criticisms aside and focus on her game and get some training techniques that would help her to win the fights. You know, it all came unraveled for her, and we could potentially see that with Nurmagomedov too.
Do you think they shake hands after the fight?
I wonder if they even do before the fight.
Ooh, maybe he'll flip him off.
This, again, I don't know how many different times or ways you want me to say this, but
I know.
Khabib is too tightly wound right now.
All right, let's speak about someone who hasn't fought in a while, Rashad Evans.
Yeah, and honestly, with the amount of times he's had problems getting medically cleared lately, it's kind of remarkable that he's even getting a fight here at all.
But he's fighting someone, I don't know. He's had a few fights, eh?
Dan Kelly, yeah, 12-1. Good fighter. Up and coming fighter.
He's no gatekeeper.
No, he's got 3 wins in a row, and, you know, on his overall record, he's got 3 knockouts and 5 submissions. I don't think Rashad can afford to take this lightly. Not in the least bit.
Because, you know, if he gets knocked out, he's going to be in every highlight show.
You talked about the word gatekeeper a little bit ago.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Rashad is very close to gatekeeper status at this point if he takes another loss.
I wonder if his medical issues, could this be his last fight?
You would almost think he'd want to retire if things don't go well for him here.
Yeah, fair enough. I've got Kelly win this fight. Sorry, Rashad.
I wish I was as 100% confident in that as you are, but I'm actually going to wait a little bit as we go through this preview, and then I'm going to get to the fight odds when we get done with everything else.
So, I mean, if I'm going to put a Walking Dead reference in here, I'm going to say it's Bye, Felicia.
Okay, sure.
David Tamur against Lando Venata in a battle. This should be a good one. And I think this one will not go to the judges. I think that fight will definitely end in some type of a stoppage, and I don't know who I'm picking this one, to be honest. It's too close for me.
You know what? Lando Venata, despite the fact that he lost to El Kukui by Darce choke back in July of last year, the guy actually has quite a lot going for him. He's got 9 wins, 4 by knockout, 4 by submission, 1 decision out of his 10 total fights. I think he's a prospect out of, you know, Jackson Wink MMA. I don't want to just assume that David Timur, you know, is a cakewalk for him, but it's not like that, because Timur is a quality opponent. But at the same time, I think that loss, once again, we're talking about where losses actually make you better. I think that loss to Ferguson would help him shore up his game and become a better fighter overall. And Timur, I mean, yeah, he's with a good team in Stockholm with Gustafsson and all them, but at the same time, what wins does he really have that suggests he's necessarily on Veneta's level? Because Martin Svensson and Jason Novelli, these are not big names. I mean, at least, even though Veneta lost to Ferguson, at least he fought Ferguson. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's like a different level of competition. And I think Timur's competition versus Veneta's competition shows that Veneta is the superior fighter coming into this fight.
And Mark Hunt and Alistair Overeem, I mean...
Slobber knocker. Pure sixer. Yeah.
This one goes to the judges?
I would really be shocked if it did.
I don't want to see this fight go to the judges, that's for sure.
I doubt anybody watching this fight wants to see it go to the judges.
I doubt anybody listening to this podcast would want this fight going to the judges. You know, I'm going to pick Hunt on this. I don't know why. It's a coin flip fight for me. I like both fighters. I'm going to go with Hunt.
Hunt certainly got a lot riding on it right now. You like to use the phrase back against the wall. Well, he's talked a lot of crap about UFC and how there should be a union for MMA fighters and how Brock Lesnar is a cheater and all the things he's had to say and all the different allegations he's thrown out there and lawsuits that are on the table and all these other things. If he goes out there and shits the bed in this fight, he's probably done in UFC. But he may not care at this point anyway. That may actually be the problem, is Alistair Overeem, as much as I want to say that Hunt's got his back against the wall and that makes him more dangerous, look at the fact that Alistair Overeem was on the verge of becoming the UFC heavyweight champion before getting destroyed by Stipe Miocic in the first round when he finally got the opportunity.
Yeah, and destroyed, you're saying loose. No, I'm not. You're not saying loosely at all. He got destroyed.
Yeah, he got cold cock knocked out. Like, you and I had that debate before UFC 203. Like, is any champion going to retain the title in UFC this year? And I said, you bet your ass Stipe Miocic will be the one. And I was right. So,
well, you didn't check the replay hard enough. That's all.
Feather in my cap on that one. Anyway.
You didn't check the replay, remember? Alistair saying that he won the fight. He felt Stipe tap out. And Rogan's like, let me see the tape. Where did he tap out here? No, I'll wait.
Yeah, that was one of the funniest moments in all of UFC. In fact, in all of MMA that last year. So, getting back to my point here, though, Overeem is, if he feels embarrassed by that performance, he may even feel his back is to the wall as much or more than Mark Hunt. So, I'm actually going to go with Alistair Overeem here because he's going to want to get back into contendership, and he's not going to want to let Mark Hunt come out there and make a point at his expense.
So we're both in agreement this fight will end in a stoppage, because if this fight goes to the judges, I'm afraid someone's going to think that the winner is La La Land. And only 2 people will get that joke right now. So
yeah, it's an Academy Awards joke.
Exactly. As far as the prelims are concerned, I mean, there are some name fighters here. Luis Henrique against Marcin Tybura, Darren Elkins against Mirsad Bektic, and Iri Alcantara against Luke Sanders looks pretty good. Sanders up and comer, 11-0.
Yeah. And
Daniel Spitz against Mark Goodbeer. You know, it's a fight there that I'm curious to see. That's one. I'm gonna probably watch all the prelims live as opposed to taping it like I usually do. But the Spitz Godbeer and the Henrique Tybura fight looks pretty good, but Sanders and Alcantara, that could be a clash of 2 different styles and an opportunity where Sanders can beat a named fighter who has a lot of fights under his belt that could really boost his how do I say this? His fight game, for lack of a better term.
Fair enough.
As far as the Fight Pass prelims that start the show off at 6:30, I mean, the only one that I really would want to see personally would be Paul Craig and Tyson Pedro. What about you?
I agree. That's a good one.
Now, you mentioned the odds here. Okay, let's start with the odds for the main event.
All right. And we're looking at -160 for Thompson, +140 for Woodley.
Too close for my comfort. I think Woodley should be a bigger favorite, but I'll take it.
What do you mean? Thompson is the favorite.
Thompson. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. Okay, then that surprises me. I had them flipped in my head when you said that. No, I disagree with that because I think Woodley should be the favorite. He's the champion. He should be the favorite here.
All right. Well, we're just going to have to see how that plays out on Saturday.
Okay, what about the co-main here?
Let's see. -175 Nurmagomedov, +155 to Ferguson.
What do you think about that one? Get your opinion first on this one.
You know, I feel like that line's going to get closer before the fight takes place. That's how I feel about it.
I feel it's going to be one of those weigh-in changes. Once they step on the scale, you're going to see a lot of action.
Probably so.
Rashad Evans and Kelly, please tell me Evans is not the favorite.
Minus 220 to plus 180.
Christ.
Yeah, you know what? This is one where I'd say if you got a hundo and you don't have anything better to do with it and you want to burn some money, go ahead and put it on Kelly for the upset.
Why not? Let's do the...
Venata is minus 250. Teamer is plus 210.
And Mark Hunt, Alistair Overeem?
Minus 145 Overeem. I like that. That's close enough where I agree he's the favorite, but he's not the significant favorite. That line reads correct to me.
That's another line where I think once they tip the scales, I think that line will change.
If we've seen anything from Alistair Overeem, it's that he can put you out with one punch. And if we've seen anything from Mark Hunt, it's that he can put you out with one punch. So neither one of these guys should be a long favorite by any stretch.